views and opinions expressed by the hosts do not state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the assumptions, views, opinions, and insinuations made by the hosts or the guests do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the company.
Identify, discussed, understand. Casting live from Manila, Philippines, we are Simply Security, helping you streamline security easily.
Good evening, Philippines.
Good evening, listeners.
Welcome back to another episode of Simply Security, recorded live today, 18th of November 2020. I am Mylce Mella-Competente.
And this is Eric Galindogan.
Welcome to Simply Security.
Streamlining security easily.
It's so good to be back. Hello,
Welcome back,
Eric.
Miles. Yeah, you've missed a couple of episodes. Siguro. Well, it's really nice, seeing you again after, a couple of weeks. I don't want to ask Muna how you are because I might preempt our discussion later on. But I'm really glad that you're doing good, and you're physically and mentally with us.
That's right, Eric. And thank you so much to our audience, to our listeners, and of course to your fellow host for the past two episodes.
Zarina,
thank you so much.
So, but before we proceed in introducing the topic for this episode will be quite different and exciting as we will be having two guests for this episode. Both are regional news broadcasters who will be sharing their experience and learnings when it comes to disaster communication, one of which is our very own co-host, Mylce Mella. So let me introduce Miles. So for those who are not yet familiar with Miles, she is actually an experienced multimedia journalist for ABS-CBN, spending over 10 years with the network. She currently sits as a consultant for Medical Center in Bicol, where she is also based and works as a journalist.
Hi, guys. Just kidding.
Good evening, Miles.
Good evening. Thank you, Eric, for that introduction. And here with me tonight, here with us is one of my dear friends and colleague, Jade Harris Julio. We call him Harris. He is a multimedia journalist also for ABS-CBN, one of the largest broadcasting networks in the Philippines, where he spent over 12 years as a news operations specialist and social media manager for then TV Patrol, North Luzon, Cagayan Valley. Like Eric and I, Harris Julio is an alumni of the University of the Philippines, Baguio, graduating with a degree in communications. Hello.
Hello, Harris.
Hi. Nice seeing you again, Miles and Sir Eric.
So happy to see you.
All right,
Happy to see you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation despite the short notice. We're supposed to have like a dedicated or targeted topic supposed to be for this week, but we found the recent typhoon or the perfect storm more relevant, I think, and timely. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Eric, before we delve into the conversation, let us define what a perfect storm is. Although I remember in our past episodes, Mr. Hermie asked
Polina.
this. Yes, hello, Sir Hermie. I hope you're tuning in.
Perfect storm is basically a certain situation. Most of the time, it's a crisis or disaster that has been aggravated by another situation or another disaster. For those who are currently in the Philippines, the easiest situation to relate into is the recent super typhoon Rolly and typhoon Ulysses. Wherein on this, aside from those typhoons, we also happen to have issues with regard to controlling the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's right. And I guess that's the reason why Harris and I are here tonight to share those experiences with you. Now, Harris, okay, I think
Yes, ma'am.
Kuya Eric will ask several questions on a personal level first.
Okay.
Well, for the first segment, we just usually, get to know first our guest. So I think for both of you na lang din, because we wanted it to be more of like a conversation.
Yeah.
Why journalism? Why did you pursue this career path?
I would love to hear from Harris first.
Okay. Okay. Actually, it's not my kind of
First
dream
choice. Uh-huh.
or dream to become a journalist. It was just a plan that I just go with the flow.
Right.
Yeah.
As they say, I have a friends in way back in high school that they wanted to enter UP, and so we decided to take the UPCAT or the UP entrance exam, and
Mm-hmm.
just like that, we at least pursue
Right.
the BA communication course. So
I
Yeah.
see.
that's how it started. And
And is
so,
this
but
your first
basically,
job?
yeah, this is my first job. I think journalism. I think journalism became my calling
Mm-hmm.
when
Eventually.
I eventually,
Mhm.
because in a way I'm able to help others by giving informations that are
Mm-hmm.
relevant to them and important to them, and alongside the public service aspect of
Right.
being a journalist.
Yeah.
So that's it.
In being a broadcaster, although it's a private industry, there's
Yes,
it's attached into public service. I
That's
think that's
that's
yes,
something that
yes.
true.
yeah.
That's true. Very,
How
very
about
Yeah.
true.
yeah? How about you, Miles?
Well, yeah, I would just like to do some follow up on what you said because
Mm-hmm.
when we graduated from college, of course we bid goodbye to to vacation like summer, right? But when you become a journalist, you will also bid goodbye to holidays and
Mm.
to
Is that
any
true?
I've never experienced maybe a few holidays,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to choose if it's just New Year or Christmas.
I
Or
see.
if it's a non-working holiday, of course you have to be in the office or you have to be in the
Right.
field. So the public service aspect is always there. As to my the career path, when I was in college, I do remember that I want to go back to Bicol. That's the
Mm-hmm.
calling. That's
Mm-hmm.
very clear to me. That's why right after graduation, it's literally right after graduation, I came back. And then I thought there's career here. Although
Mm-hmm.
we have to accept the fact that most graduates would opt to go to big cities,
Yeah.
Manila or
Yeah.
abroad, to find their career there.
Yeah.
I believe there's something in the Bicol region, and
For
I was
yep.
just blessed to have, like Harris. I think you will agree with me.
Yes, of course.
Have ABS-CBN in the region.
For me, I just known of ABS-CBN in Isabela after graduation because most of my time is in Baguio City
Right.
Mm-mm.
back then. So I just learned about it when my one of my friends, a former reporter also of ABS-CBN Isabela,
Mm-hmm.
is already working there, and she convinced me to apply for a vacant position there.
For me, I knew for a fact that I went to Manila because I know that there's much opportunity here. But
Mm-mm.
for you who went back to to reach to your respective provinces, was it difficult or was it more? You think it's easier?
I think it just happened that in my experience, it's kind of difficult because you have to create your own path. It's an advantage that you graduated from a known university, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to prove your craft, your
Mm-hmm.
dedication and commitment, because first of all, you don't have any network there.
Right.
you
Right.
know. Second, compared to Manila, the jobs are really few, and there are many applicants. A
Right. So
third
there's a
is
competition.
That's right.
Yeah.
And third is the wage rate, which
Mm-hmm.
is very, I don't know, saddening for me because um, you cannot quest. It's so hard to raise a family at first, because
Mm-hmm.
in my case I have a family that I was supporting back then, so it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard. It changed when the media organization I was in professionalized the industry, which means gave us proper wage, proper
Mm-hmm.
benefits. That's when we were able to say, you're already
Yeah.
in the right position or condition to really master your job, or to really maximize everything to do the public service. Because at the end of the day, there's this thoughts at night, if you're gonna sustain, if it's
Yeah.
going to sustain the needs of your family and everything. So it's hard at first, but once you're there,
Tuloy-tuloy
um,
na.
amazing. It's amazing. Amazing.
How about you, Harris?
Opportunity.
I think the transition is easy, or I can say
Mm-hmm.
for at the least because my family is here
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, and I have support here. I have my friends who are already in the industry that are able to guide me. Somehow, there was a point that I'm also questioning why I'm in here, because
Yeah.
the pay is not that somehow
Public
able
service
to.
talaga.
But in the long run, yun nga eh.
Here's my impression about journalists. You're more courageous in going to high risk areas. If there's a scoop, there's that itch that you have to be there
Yeah.
first among all of your competitors.
For me, we also consider our safety first before
Mm-hmm.
heading out. We also plan what will be the situation in the area, what we are going to do if there are certain risks that we will be facing during the coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Sa totoo lang, I'm also a bit hesitant in a
Uh-huh.
way, because it's not easy covering an ambush in a
Right.
certain
Yeah.
area,
Right.
not easy covering typhoons, especially here in Region 2, which is a very
Yeah.
lagi-lagi merong typhoon dito.
That's
Right.
true, no?
It's a learning process. Again, always the courage that makes you go out there, but also you have to be thinking about the safety of also.
Yeah,
How
that's
about you,
true.
Miles?
Well, the risks, you said parang there's a comparison, no? The
Mm-hmm.
calculated risk aspect. First, I would like to address it somehow flatters most of us, I guess, to
Mm-hmm.
say that as a journalist you're courageous. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's the information that the people need that you
Yeah.
have to deliver as soon as possible. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good that you're being quoted like that, but at the end of the day, you have to be smart and wise to make sure that you're not just safe but also your team, because
Yeah.
we usually go with our shooter or camera person, and then our piloto, we call them piloto, our driver.
Right.
So for first that, second,
Mm-hmm.
other, if you're a regional reporter, we don't have a bit a system,
Mm-hmm.
you have area
Yeah,
coverages, but you
Yeah.
will
yeah,
cover everything. You are
I
expected
everything,
to
see.
cover
Uh-huh.
everything, from
everything.
So that's the
ambush,
difference between
politics.
regional correspondents.
That's true.
I
And
see.
so disaster, most of the time it's disaster during this
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter of the year. What else? It, of course, during political season.
Right.
So sometimes you have to be on your toes. Oh no, most of the time you have to be on your toes.
Mm.
Assess as soon as possible or quickly if you're going to that area, if it's safe. Get inform. The difference right now is we have citizen journalists, right,
Right.
Harris?
Right.
Yes,
So they
yes,
can
yes, yes.
already feed you the information while you're
Mm-hmm.
on en route or going to the area.
How important are they? Kasi kanyari, what I'm thinking is, you have citizen journalists, but at the same time, they're not always credible. I mean, there will be parang citizen journalists who will try to sensationalize a certain issue to get attention. So for you as journalists, how do you differentiate or how do you screen them? Kumbaga.
For starter, I trying our best to verify the information by contacting the authorities.
Okay.
So, in a way, asking them if there's a valid reason for us to cover the video.
I agree with what Harris was saying. You have to do the verification
Mm-hmm.
and validate those information from different sources.
Yeah. Harris have mentioned about, government forces. Aside from government sources, what other sources do you use as best
Mhm.
practice to validate, information?
For me, it's triangular. You have the
Mm.
the government, and then
Mhm.
validate it from the people on the ground. And then
I
there's
see.
also a third party organization. Second, the people on the ground, those who have information,
Mhm.
like if they have provided photos, they have posted photos, first photos, especially during disasters
Mhm.
or aftermath. And then you have also the non-government organization. That is
Right.
very vital for us because there is this notion that if you're a journalist, you have to be skeptical
Right.
about what
Right.
people are telling you or saying.
Yeah.
So you try to if there's at least two verified comments or
Information.
feedback,
Yeah.
then you
Mhm.
can say it's legit or it's real.
Mhm.
But that's very challenging right now, to be honest with you, because
True.
so I would like to say that most Filipinos are not that cunning or shrewd, or attention seekers. I must say
Mhm.
we're not that kind of culture
Mhm.
yet. I hope not.
Mhm.
But it's still how should I say this? It's still challenging as to cyber mediated relationship.
Mhm.
So you have to make sure that with or without disasters, you are having relationships with your sources,
Mhm.
not
Okay.
just with the government, but with the two parties in that triangle approach
Right.
or triangular approach.
Can you bring us, let's say, in your task when we're covering, let's say, a super typhoon, or let's say an ambush?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that you have to have? What are the things that you need to know, and what are the things that you need to do prior to covering it?
Well, at first you have to make sure that you have the approval of
Right.
your superior. But some of the things that my takeaways
Mm-hmm.
probably is you have to get the information first, initial information about what's happening on the ground from
Mm-hmm.
several sources. Then you can prepare and list down the things that you would like to know or the things that you have to prepare before going there.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to a flooded area with just your using your sneakers or your rubber
Right.
shoes. You have to make sure that you have your wader prepared. It's better to be over prepared because I experienced this before. I think I was just wearing jogging pants and then rubber shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
then I went into a flooded area that is waist deep.
Oh no.
So those kinds of you might think it's petty, but it will affect your job.
Yeah.
Uh,
Miles and I were like
mm,
talking about what's your routine before covering a high risk situation, like let's say a super typhoon, or let's say an ambush. What are the things that you do? What are the things that you prepare?
First, we are always trying to verify with the authorities
Mm-hmm.
what will be the situation in the area, and then
area.
we do this coverage plan.
Mm-hmm.
We list down the things that should be listed on it, like beside the budget and security concerns and
Right.
all of that. And
Yeah.
for ambush, we need to coordinate with the authorities, the
Mm-hmm.
army, the PNP, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for typhoon coverage, like I heard as Mel saying a while ago that we need to wear our gears for
Right.
flood,
Mm-mm.
like that. We were actually provided by the company with
Okay.
equipment or
Mm.
with gears like the waders, because
Mm-mm.
it's really difficult going in a flooded area that and wearing a jeans or
Shorts.
shorts, or
Right.
actually I experienced wearing shorts in a flooded
Me
area.
too. Me too.
I see. For my last question, in terms of the information network that you have, can you share to us who are the your top source stakeholders? Like your stakeholders wherein you always get relevant information. Meron ba kayong parang list of that? Like let's say politician, or something. Is it standard for journalists to have that?
Yeah, it's somewhat a vital tool also to have a list of
Mhm.
sources like PNP, Army. Those are the major sources that we have, and also politicians. But the thing is, with the technology that we have now,
Mm-mm.
I
it
see.
shifted from not only the authorities being the sources, but also the citizens being the
I see.
sources of information.
How about
Yeah.
you, Miles?
I was about yeah, I have to agree with that. Before we rely on press releases, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. But now there's this communication, how should I say this? We don't have a problem with lack of communication. It's more of everyone is trying to communicate something and providing you with
Right.
information. And that is through
Yes.
social media. Now, the challenge, if the challenge before of a journalist is to get the information, the
Mm-hmm.
challenge right now for a journalist is not only to get information, but to say to the public, this is
Yeah.
true, this is fake.
Screen
This
them.
is
Yeah.
misinformation, this is disinformation, this is the real thing that happened.
Yeah.
As to the list of contacts, better if you have trusted sources.
Mm-hmm.
They're like gems, or
Yeah.
gold.
And and how do you build those trusted sources?
Here's the thing. I'm not sure if Harris, did you experience this?
Yeah.
When you go to an area and they ask you to eat with them, the
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
tendency is for a journalist to say no because we have
Right.
something else
Yes.
to do, or you don't want to be given
Yeah.
something, or because you're
Yeah.
in a hurry, or because it's being discouraged in the
Right.
sense
Yes. Yes.
that
For one, it's been
yeah,
discouraged by the company.
by the company, that you
Ah,
don't
talaga. I see.
allow
Mm-hmm.
these people to feed you or give you food or whatever, or to treat you to some
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But it's very important to eat with these people
Right.
because
Yes.
it's only in that relaxed environment that you can build
Yeah.
and have meaningful conversations.
Yeah. And I would also agree on our end when we do field works. One of the cultural thing that I've
It's very
learned
Filipino,
personally
no?
when we did like a project in Kalinga. Um,
Yeah.
Interestingly, it is actually
In
more
Kalinga.
encouraged for you to eat with them because they have like this
It's
norm na if you take the food that they've offered,
You can be
one, you're
trusted.
trusting,
mm-hmm.
you've accepted their trust, and then second, the entire tribe is parang mandated culturally or socially to secure you or to
Mm-hmm.
guarantee that you're safe, you're secured,
Mm,
and
mm-mm,
nobody will harass you. I think for
mm-mm.
many Filipinos, this is also a cultural aspect because it's only food for us. It's not only hospitality, but it's also a form of trust.
Yeah.
Kumbaga.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
experience the same, Harris?
Yeah, especially in Kalinga, that's true. What
Mm,
Kuya Eric said. We are, Kalinga is also in our area of concern. We also
yeah,
cover there. We do also coverage in Kalinga, and it's a customary thing that we eat together with
the locals.
the locals there.
All
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
right. So our discussion
That's
is getting
true.
interesting, but guys, let me cut this briefly for a very short break,
Yes.
and we will be right back with Miles and Harris after some short reminders.
Want to learn about corporate security and risk management from industry experts for free? Check our latest Mitdirect Touchpoint to learn more. Mitdirect Touchpoint is Black Pearl's online webinar platform where security professionals and enthusiasts discuss relevant security frameworks, strategies, and issues. To register, check our LinkedIn account for the most upcoming topic and schedule.
Welcome back to Simply Security. Again, tonight we have two regional correspondents, Ms. Mylce Mella and Harris Julio, discussing about their experiences when it comes to disaster communication. Now, on this particular segment of the episode, we will be talking about their recent experience in covering probably two of the most, well-noted disaster both
Mm-hmm.
in Bicol region and in Cagayan Valley. All right, who wants to go first?
I guess Harris
I guess
should go first.
From my understanding, the flooding that happened in Cagayan Valley was actually associated with the typhoon Ulysses. And apparently, you've mentioned to me a while ago that it's actually different. Can you expound? What really
Yeah.
happened there?
During the typhoon Ulysses, we are not in the direct path of that strong
Typhoon.
typhoon. Based on Pag-asa's forecast, we will be covered by the outside the wind band of
Right.
the typhoon. And um, for the previous days or months or weeks, we were already experiencing here severe rain,
Okay.
or intermittent rain, and then strong to occasionally strong
But that
wind
is
rains.
expected.
Yeah.
That is expected, especially during Typhoon Ulysses. But the previous weather disturbances that we are experiencing here is what we call the monsoon or the amihan.
Amihan.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, amihan, and then it's bringing a lot of waters here already in Cagayan
Mm.
Valley. And when Typhoon Ulysses came, the soil here is already saturated, or
Okay.
it's already in its maximum holding capacity
I see.
of water. So that's another factor that the flooding became that very or very extreme in
Severe.
it's
Yeah.
it's severe. It's actually being considered as the worst flooding since 1970s.
Oh wow. I see.
Mhm.
And where
So
did the Magat Dam issue came about?
Magat Dam is also one of the factors that's being
Mm-hmm.
taken into consideration with the flooding in Cagayan Valley, because during the time rivers are already rising, and then Magat Dam is already also releasing water as a mitigating measure so that the
Okay.
dam will not be
Collapse.
damaged, or it will
Mm-mm.
not collapse
I see.
if it will reach its maximum capacity holding capacity.
I see. So you're saying that the Magat Dam, the release of the water from the Magat Dam is inevitable because it may, if we don't release that, it will be more catastrophic for
Yeah.
Cagayan Valley.
I have a question, Harris, because since I was monitoring this news, we were talking actually when the time happened. But the typhoon Ulysses on Wednesday, if my memory serves me right, and then
Mhm.
Thursday, it was the time administration of Magatam is already trying to communicate that they're going to open their gates. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was 7 gates.
Seven gates was just a measure that they were able to do because
Mm-mm.
it's already maximum
Full
capacity.
Level.
capacity. Yeah.
Oo.
But previous weeks were already releasing water because
Okay.
The
pero
monsoon.
that's monsoon.
Yeah.
Pero yun, konti-konti pa lang siya. It's not that really a lot of water being released
Right.
in Magat Dam. It's always being communicated by Magat Dam to the local government units that they will be releasing water.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
But it's like what Kuya Eric said, it's really unprecedented. It's not solely Magat Dam that I'll just have to illustrate this. I'll just have to illustrate the ano. Kasi from Magat Dam, the water that's being released from Magat Dam will directly flow to the Magat River. And
Yeah.
Magat River is just one of the tributaries of Cagayan River. There
Right.
are also other rivers that contribute water
Makes
to
sense.
Cagayan River. So all of those river systems also converge to Cagayan River. So it's not
It's
only
not just one
solely
culprit,
one
kumbaga.
culprit, yeah, not one
Yeah, I
culprit,
see.
but so that's another thing that's also being considered in the situation what happened here in
Mm.
Cagayan Valley. So
Yeah.
we have a saturated soil. The Magat
Mhm.
release also contributed or aggravated somehow the situation there.
Yeah.
And
Mm-mm.
I think
that's it.
for Typhoon Ulysses, we could relate it to Typhoon Ondoy and the habagat that happened that submerged
In
Metro Manila
2009.
in
Yeah.
Yeah,
2009.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
So it
exactly.
was unexpected because during that time, Ondoy was only typhoon number two, but it poured down 1 month worth of
Rain.
rainwater in Metro
Mm-mm.
Manila. And then, but at the same time, what's interesting there is that since it's not like a super typhoon wherein the problem is strong winds. This is just basically flooding, and communication facilities were up, and I think that's also the same situation for Cagayan Valley during that time. That's why we were able to see videos that were being uploaded by
Yeah.
citizens.
I
But
think everyone was caught surprise on that
yeah,
Friday, Kuya Eric and Harris, because first because Cagayan was not like what you said, Harris. Cagayan does not have typhoon signal, and it was
right,
2 days after
right.
Ulysses. But since we're talking about disaster communication, and I'm very interested to know, Harris, if Magat Dam is communicating as you expect from the past years, if they're going to open their gates and everything, and communicate that to the local government unit. I have seen some photos of Cagayan PIO and Tuguegarao City PIO as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very surprised and happy at the same time because they are also showing the situation from the ground, and they were actually I think the one of the
The
first
first, yeah.
who have shown this. Now, my question, Harris, is um as to the disaster communication, what happened there between the local government unit and Magat Dam probably, or local government unit giving that information to the people?
I would just like to correct you with the one thing. We are also in the
A typhoon signal.
typhoon signals during that
Okay.
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Actually, we reached our typhoon signal number 3 in some areas
Okay.
here. For Magadam, it's their protocol to inform
Right.
the local government units, and that's somehow a good thing here. With the ABS-CBN's absence, or the regional network previously providing information,
Mm-hmm.
we have the local government units Facebook pages that
Right.
are
The PIOs.
PIOs that are sharing information. But the difference with the ABS-CBN, if I can mention this lang,
Yeah,
Opo.
yeah.
I don't want to compare, but yes, they are posting information
Yeah.
that Magat Dam have
Mm-hmm.
released this much water, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just what you call written words, or letters in a
Art
Facebook
cards.
page.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, guys, it does not actually explain how much
Impact.
impact it will.
Yeah, I see. Well, I'm just
That
curious,
will
Because people
drive.
can
Harris.
people cannot
Oh.
decipher the information
Yeah,
with the numbers.
especially for layman. Because
Yeah, for a
when they hear
layman's terms.
when they
Yeah.
see like 7 meters of water will
What does
be
it mean?
so
Yeah,
for
you
Yeah,
us it's
know?
like
imagine.
But I'm just
So,
curious for Cagayan Valley, do you happen to have any other regional networks or regional media agency that are stationed there aside from
um,
ABS-CBN?
TV in particular, it's only ABS-CBN that have a regional
Okay.
Mm-mm.
TV here in Cagayan Valley. But Bambo Radio, a local radio station, which is also have other
National
stations in the
coverage.
country, national coverage, and have
I
other
see.
stations in the countries. We have
Yeah,
that.
they have that model too,
Mhm.
no?
We also have radio stations that are also have national coverage.
Mm.
Bombo
Pero
Radio,
how the
DCRH
coverage,
also, but
the coverage area?
it's being I guess it's being heard all over Cagayan Valley.
Yeah.
As, but some people are also expecting us, ABS-CBN, to also be part of the information dissemination. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it
Yeah.
that we were not doing what we are
Supposed
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 to.
to
to be
do.
doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
To
that's
be
how I
doing
felt too.
because ABS-CBN was not given a chance to do.
Right.
That's what I felt
But
too.
for instance, for that particular situation, say that there was challenges when it comes to communicating what's happening and communicating, what they're what the let's say the LGUs has to instruct their citizens. Do you feel like there's a communication problem because
Challenge.
or challenge because from what I'm seeing there were no communication facilities that toppled down. The signal was
Yeah.
there.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
Yes.
but what makes it So where is, Siguro my question is, where was the challenge in terms of disaster communication coming from?
I really don't know what transpired during the communication with the LGU and the Magat and to the residents. If the
Mm-hmm.
information actually reached the citizens of Cagayan Valley. But
Mhm.
for sure, maybe it.
They
But I was
tried.
able to. They tried. Maybe actually, I was able to talk with some of the local officials here, and they said they advise residents here to evacuate, prepare for
Mm-hmm.
any eventualities.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
But I don't know if it's true that people did not listen
I see.
to them.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, if I'll be a
Hmm,
citizen living in Cagayan, if let's say I'm a Cagayan non,
hmm,
even if let's say the LGU, I don't know, but probably it's just me. Even if let's say a barangay captain would tell me na, "Oy, you have to evacuate because there's an incoming flood in our area." But then again, I don't hear it from my traditional source of information.
Yeah, which is
Like,
you could just turn it on and then
yeah,
you
yeah.
will receive
exactly.
the information. Right now
Hmm.
you have to go on your Facebook. If you
Right.
have data, well and good. If you don't have, you will rely on
And if
feed.
you're not a technophobe,
Yeah, or if you're not following the right sources of information, if you
right,
don't know that
exactly.
they provide these kinds of information,
Yes.
that's the I think the challenge that Harris is telling a while ago, that you
Hmm.
have taken away this behavior of people tuning
Yeah.
in to a
Hmm.
station who which is already there for 2 decades or nakasanayan na.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Right.
yeah. I would agree with Miles. It's already behavior here in
It's
Cagayan
Mm-mm.
a
Valley that
it's a
they
norm.
it's a
Mm-mm.
norm. No, 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 no,
Right.
Mm-mm.
actually. And I don't want to discredit other media
Me
Of course, of
too.
course.
here
Oo.
in Cagayan Valley. I know they also did what they are supposed to be doing in times of
Mm.
calamities. But nakasanayan na ang TV
Right.
Patrol. I cannot people can vouch for it kasi I'm reading
Yeah.
messages from social media that they
Right.
are looking for the service of ABS-CBN here in Cagayan Valley. And
Yeah.
kami na mismo hindi namin pwedeng sabihin na yes, totoo yan. Pero sila na mismo yung nagsasabi. And
Right.
We can
Oh,
what we feel, to be honest, it feels so bad because you know that
yes.
you should be there, you should be covering these stories, but you are not. Oh nga pala, hindi na pala ako part, or
right.
oh, I am still a correspondent, but the operation is not the same logistics wise.
Yeah.
Yes. I would just like to share
Yeah.
during the flooding. I wasn't able to go there in Cagayan during that time
Mm-hmm.
because, for one, I'm not already.
Part.
They're directly hired by the company, and there's limitation in going to Cagayan during
I
that time.
see.
But I'm able to receive distress calls from residents.
Actually
What I
begging
did?
you, no, begging you
Yeah,
to
begging
air.
me.
Let's try returning back to Harris from time to time. But let's say for
Mm-mm.
Miles, $1 million question. Una, why weren't you
I was
able to
absent for
attend?
two
Yeah,
episodes.
you were absent for for 2 consecutive weeks.
Okay. So, okay, let's start with, so we had Typhoon Kinta and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that was it. That will be our biggest storm this year. But no, we had Typhoon Rolly too. But before
Yeah.
Typhoon Rolly, Kuya Eric, remember that Wednesday episode with Matt?
Right.
I was already feeling something and I'm not sure if what it was. I was just feeling bad. I thought I was just being emotional. To cut the story short, I experienced body pains at Thursday, and by Friday I had fever. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
working at the hospital, I'm in the office of the medical center chief. I already told my superior I am experiencing something because
Mm-hmm.
it's my responsibility to divulge
Right.
that information. So I was told you have to undergo swab testing. I was very confident I'm not COVID positive, but it turned
Mm-hmm.
out differently. So I
Right.
was told I was COVID positive, and then Typhoon Rolly happened.
Right.
And I'm like, I already feel bad that I'm COVID-19 positive. And
Mm-hmm.
then when Typhoon Rolly was happening, my husband and I were trying to film, we're trying to do Facebook Live.
Right.
because it's
Covering.
yung term nga ni Harris, yun nga, nakasanayan eh. It's even though you're not part of or the
Yeah.
industry anymore,
It's in your
like,
system.
because some people are all still expecting you to provide them information. So that's the
Right.
least we can do.
Yes.
And then after Typhoon Rolly happened, I was like, I feel so bad when I also see some posts on social media that if only there's the regional. It's not only, it just happened that ABS-CBN is the company who invested in the regional.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is in other countries, let's say in United States, and not only the big networks are thriving, it's the regional stations that are also thriving, because hyperlocal is already
Mm-hmm.
being appreciated in these countries. And in the Philippines, we're trying, no, we're already appreciating what hyperlocal information is
Yeah.
all about.
Yeah.
So I feel really so bad. I was crying, to be honest with you, because you can't do anything. You're like COVID-19 positive. You're in lockdown, and then there's this storm, and then and also you remembered. Okay, I'm not an employee anymore. I'm not a. I could not say I'm not a journalist anymore, because from time to time, but the operation is really,
Yeah.
the situation is really different.
Yeah.
And
I think
then Typhoon Ulysses also
happened.
came. It gave us 11 hours of nonstop rain, and
Yeah.
you can't go out. Things already changed.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
that's
think
what
different
happened.
from Cagayan Valley. Bicol, on the other hand, experienced differently. Although it's the same, it both are typhoons.
Mm-mm.
For Typhoon Rolly, it was a super typhoon.
It was
So
a
the
super
wind
typhoon.
strength was like relatively, no, not relatively, significantly
It's the
Significant.
strong,
Yeah.
biggest this year.
right?
Yeah.
And it toppled down a lot of critical infrastructures like electricity,
Right. Yeah. Thank
yeah,
you for mentioning that.
communication, internet. So,
Mm-hmm.
how did you manage to cover disaster communicate?
Well, here's the thing. If you have those sources, they tend to forget that you're no longer connected with the
Right.
industry, but they will still provide you with the information. You cannot hold that information just with you.
You're right.
I feel it's so unfair for me if I know this information and
It's
I
a
will
civil
not
responsibility.
share it. Yeah, that's true, because not only the strength. Well, I started covering Quinta. By Rolly, I was unable to do the news coverage, or at least giving information, because as you mentioned, there are youth services problems.
Mhm.
But for Quinta, yeah, from time to time, when I get information, I send it to ABS-CBN or to our media cooperative
Mhm.
Facebook page, because we built one. And then, but after Rolly, there's this, from time to time you share those information.
Yeah.
But
We're
here's
just sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
but
I think
here's
you're
the
going to say
problem.
something important.
Yeah, but no, here's the problem. Um, Even though there's this effort to
Mhm.
share this information, the frequency is very problematic.
Mm. Limited.
Compared, limited and problematic in the sense that people before are expecting you to give them information at 5:30 p.m.
Mhm.
Mondays to
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Friday.
routine already.
Yeah. But right now, it's only when you get those information and then you give it to them,
Mm.
and as much as you want to give more, you have all these limitations.
Yeah.
So people when they started posting, because they're actually I think the problem then during Rolly was the extent of
Okay.
the wind.
Right.
What does that mean to them,
Yeah.
because information without explanation and context will not
Yeah.
lead people
Exactly.
to decide to save
Yeah.
themselves or
So
their
it's very
property.
important for them to be. It's not just mere news reporting.
No,
It's
it's
more on giving
context, eh.
information that they would easily appreciate and understand. Is that
And
what you're saying?
will give them the right decisions
Yeah.
throughout the day or
Mhm.
and night. 'Di ba,
Mhm.
Haris?
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
what's good thing with having a TV station is that you are able to show, not only tell a particular situation that will probably happen in a place. Because
Right.
yeah, we are not just we're not just talking. We are
Sure.
also showing, or we're showing footage
Right.
of what will be of Magat Dam when it will be releasing this magnitude of water.
Yeah. I think
We also
people are visual. Eh. They
yeah
appreciate things when they see it.
yeah
Kunyari,
and we
when
are
I saw when we saw the Magat Dam, and I was like, it's like really.
hmm,
I was like, I never
yeah
imagined a Magat. I mean, a dam that would pour. So
per outlet release
that
that
much,
much of
right?
water. Yeah.
Mm. During the time when you're still covering for natural disasters, I always wonder, despite having, let's say, no electricity, no internet, how are journalists still able to report it to their national office? How do you transmit information, or how do you communicate important information to your head office?
That's actually a problem now.
Mm-hmm.
Because before, when communication is down here especially for mobile
Mm-hmm.
networks, we have this radio. I forgot the device, the usual
Yeah.
communication radio
Right.
via satellite that it's being lent to us by the company, and
Okay.
the
And now
good
it's
thing that
not.
it's yeah, and they're able to
I see.
provide that
I
uh,
see.
uh, communication equipment for
I
us.
see.
So that's a big problem if ever that communication will be out here, or it will not work here anymore in during typhoon
Mm.
especially.
All right. Thank you for those sharings and insights. Unfortunately, Miles happens to have like an unstable internet connection, but hopefully we'll still be able to get hold of her after a very, very quick break.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Business Profiles Incorporated, leading the way to strategic corporate risk and security management solutions. Business Profiles Incorporated, our business is to keep you in business. Black Pearl Consultancy, bringing intelligence analysis, travel security, and business continuity support to new heights. Black Pearl Consultancy, intelligence for smarter decisions.
BP Argus Security Services Incorporated. For holistic industrial protection, BP Argus Security Services is committed to the highest standards of providing effective security manpower services. Blue Force Security Services, the security manpower of choice by many companies and organizations in the Philippines. Blue Force Security Services, delivering quality protection and service integrity to your corporate needs.
Chronicle Data and Research Solutions. Chronicle Data and Research Solutions provides comprehensive corporate inquiries and background checks for businesses and organizations. Chronicle Data and Research Solutions, delivering concise, factual, and relevant service through expertise and trust.
Silverpoint Training and Development, the knowledge and skill building arm of Business Profiles Inc., offering the latest, most practical and strategic briefings and corporate trainings in the field of business security.
Hi, I'm back.
Hi, Miles.
Hello. Okay, so before we go to our next segment, I have a question for you, Kuya Eric. Because since we're talking about disaster communication, let me ask you, how important is disaster communication in the business aspect?
So in my industry, disaster communication is also very vital because basically this would determine the necessary decision making or response a company has to do in the event, let's say, a disaster strike on them. Disaster communication is also an integral part of a buzzword now in our industry called business continuity plan. Kasi when you talk about business continuity, it's a management strategy that enables businesses to continue their operation, regardless if it's a minimal operation, in the presence of a particular disruption. So, for instance, in this case, typhoons or floods. I could remember probably one of my project back then was during Typhoon Ondoy, wherein we were dealing with a lot of multinational companies, wherein their problem is more on their suppliers or their contractors, because their contractors being SMEs, they don't happen to have, the same resources or capabilities as big companies. So at
Mm.
first, these companies were like, generous and kind and considerate, but after they gave them, let's say, 1 month or 2 months to recover. But at the end of the day, most of these SMEs weren't able to communicate themselves properly, because in
Mm.
terms of business, like any business, trust and communication is very important. So that's why a lot of SMEs, contractors for that matter, weren't able to, lost business simply because they're having difficulties to recover, and then at the same time they weren't able to,
Distrust.
yeah, it's a mistrust, and then they weren't able to manage the expectations of their clients.
Yeah, when we talk about disaster communication, Harris and Eric, do you agree with me? Heads up is very important, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time,
Mhm.
giving constant updates, no? The frequency
Yes,
of information that you're giving.
Of
definitely.
course, of
For
course.
Mm-hmm.
us, we follow, like, let's say, a certain diagram or framework,
Mhm.
and part of risk management is prevention and deterrence.
Mhm.
So a heads up actually falls under prevention and deterrence. So the monitoring part is would fall under response or recovery. So at least that's how we look at it. So heads up, communication, monitoring is very, very important.
Yeah, Harris?
Yeah, I agree too. We are actually practicing that in
Mm,
in our job or in our work as a journalist. We give prior information, then we do follow-ups so
right.
that people are constantly being informed of the anything. So that's an important integral part of communication.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Now, we've talked about the experiences and learnings during the recent disaster of Super Typhoon Rolly and flooding. That was one of the effects of Typhoon Ulysses in northern Luzon. Despite a very engaging conversation, we are going to have our live audience the chance to participate in the discussion.
I happen to have a question, and for Mr.
Okay.
Herbie Colina, accuracy of information is much more important during disasters and crises, as it is during clear blue skies. Hence, it is critical that information are validated, verified, because people rely on them for certain decisions they will make. And I
That's
think
true.
this is in emphasis with the triangulation that Miles have raised earlier. He have also said that a number of gates at Magat Dam were opened at inundated the lowlands. But this is not the first time that this happened. Flooding also occurred before in Isabela because gates were open in Magat Dam to reduce the amount of water.
It's hard to actually comment on this
Yeah,
in my part. It's an investigation that's ongoing right
Yeah,
right,
now,
it's too
right.
and I cannot
technical.
just blurt out
Sure,
anything
sure.
right now. But I guess it's true that it's not the first time that this happened. Now and the previous incidents that Magat Dam
Release.
released water, and
Yeah,
then floodings happened in Cagayan area in Isabela, that people were able to prepare
yeah.
for these. And I don't know, maybe it's just that true that what people are saying here, that unprecedented kasi yung dami ng ulan na
Right.
dinala ng Ulysses. And that's something
So
that we
it
cannot
piled up, no?
yeah, that's something that we cannot control. Especially there are other also factors to consider. No, ano, it's not only Magat Dam
Mhm.
that's to be
All right.
blamed for this.
Yes.
No?
I have
Correct.
Thomas Pecora is curious for both of you, journalists. What kind of training do reporters get in emergency action and personal safety?
We have
Yeah.
undergone some trainings before,
Yes.
safety trainings. Also, there are non-government organizations
Right.
were also giving us these kinds of trainings. So, and of course, based on personal experiences, there are some how should I say this, unforgettable experiences that will teach you lessons
True. So
that
it's a
will last for a
learning. It's a
lifetime.
continuous learning for
It
most
is. It is a
journalists. I
continuous
see.
learning. That's true.
And was there some impact on disaster coverage by the fact that there has been a change in media activity? I think
Definitely.
you've answered this a while ago. Um,
Definitely.
It may be too soon, but what
Tremendous.
thoughts do you have on how to improve coverage for future disasters?
Well, first and foremost, please support your regional correspondents. I'm not
Mhm.
just saying for us, but you have to make them known the value of their work, because truly it's not a high paying job. It
Right.
requires a lot of time and effort, but I think the appreciation will boost.
Last question. In your pursuit of information during disasters or crisis situations, what do you expect from the company in crisis or the government agency during disaster when you are trying to get information from them?
I guess they need to be responsive
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, because whatever information that we are getting from them is what we will also be able to share
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
other to the public, and they are our, I guess, lifeline of communication also.
All right.
Because we
Mhm.
cannot just, for as soon as we are able to go to some places and tell the situation there, but other aspects of other information, we cannot also just give informations that are unverified. Also, we also need to verify with them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
we need them to be more responsive to us. I don't know if we are gatekeepers of information also.
Right.
I think we are also
Gate
gatekeepers of information.
watchers.
Gate watchers also.
Opo.
How about
That's
you,
one thing I
Miles?
think.
Oo. I agree with the responsive first. And there's no such thing as over communication
Mm-hmm.
when you are expected to give information.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the company, but of course as a government agency and a media entity. I guess it's better to over communicate than there's the regret because you did not
Yeah.
tell this information, or you were not able to provide context to what you're trying to communicate, that made other people's lives at stake.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
for me, that's that. Whether you are in business, you're a media entity, or you are a government agency, you cannot not communicate,
Right.
especially during disasters.
I agree. For me, speaking on the
Uh,
security industry or the business industry, their hotline number should be updated. Okay, especially if they put in some of their hotline numbers online, because
Mhm.
most people, the first thing that they would do is look at the internet and then look for their hotline
Google.
numbers. Yeah, or Google it.
Totoo.
But unfortunately, kunyari, in my experience, unfortunately, I've called in several, government agencies. I know they're working, but the problem is I cannot connect with them, right?
Or
Because
they're not responsive.
or they're not responsive.
Yes.
Probably just to answer the responsiveness issue as well is they have to have like a POC, like even for government or in private sector, a point person, a
Yeah.
point person who would relay the information that the public will need, and then at the same time, these organizations should have a common statement or a protocol or procedures. At least that's in our disaster communication plan. Like
Yeah.
for us, once we activate our crisis committee or our disaster committee, there's always a dedicated uh, communication expert or head on that. And if he's not available, then there should be like a line who would take
Mhm.
over. These are the things that I'm really expecting, let's say, for both government and the private sector.
I just like to point out the cost of not communicating, no,
Right.
especially during disasters. That would lead to lack of trust, leaves room
Exactly.
for doubt, and people will try to get information because they're hungry, di ba?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They will try to get it from different sources because they're desperate to the point that
Mm.
they can be fooled.
For to move on with our next segment, we call this Quick Talk Harris. So all of our guests has to answer. So this is basically easy. So we'll give you two options. You just have to choose one. You cannot say it depends. You cannot refuse to answer, and you don't
Mhm.
have to explain. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Okay.
All right, city life or province life?
Province life.
Yay! Newsroom or out in the field?
Out in the field. Absolutely.
iOS or Android?
I'm using Android.
It's okay.
Okay.
Social media management or news corresponding?
Can it be both?
No, you cannot. Just choose one.
One.
The other one, newsgathering.
News
News
corresponding. Okay.
News correspondent. Yeah.
Most important thing you've learned in over a decade of being a journalist.
Oh, this is a question na.
Mhm.
Well, that's a question.
Uh-uh.
Most important thing, to always be selfless.
No,
I
no,
see.
you have to accept that from the very start. You don't
All
need
right.
to expect.
It's one thing that I was able to at least learn,
Realize. Mhm.
realize that, because there are moments that I don't want to go out because I have something to
Your own
personal to
family.
attend, because it's my
Opo.
but it's really a calling that you
Right.
should be out there providing this information, helping people during calamities, not only by providing information but also we have this public service that we are able to participate. So I have to be out there. I have to be selfless to be out there.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Say
All
again.
right. And most important thing you can advise to someone who wishes to pursue journalism as a career and will also becoming a regional journalist.
First, I guess you need to. For me, being a regional, because being in the region or in your locality is not is something that you should be proud of. That you're able
Mhm.
to help your community.
I think naman, Harris, like any other profession, the first few years will be very difficult. Like I would always say, na when you're pursuing a career, don't follow where the money is. Kasi your first few years will be more on knowing what you really want to do
And
and
if you're going to be
specializing
committed to
yourself.
it.
Exactly. And then from that point on, everything will be just fast. All right. So thank you very much, Harris and Miles. And of course, thank you to everyone who tuned in and participated in Business Profile Inc. and Black Pearl Security Podcast, Simply Security. We hope that you enjoyed and learned something from tonight's episode. And we also wish to have you again next week, same time, same Zoom in registry. We are casting
Yes.
live every Wednesday, usually at 6:30 in the evening.
Thank you so much, Harris,
Thank
for
you.
sparing us your time, and stay safe. And God bless Cagayan, Isabela, Northern Luzon. God bless the Philippines. You
All
can
right.
also catch the recordings of tonight's episode starting tomorrow on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Just type in Simply Security.
And of course, to get the latest security information in the Philippines and for any upcoming events, do not forget to follow us on LinkedIn at Black Pearl Consultancy under Information Services and follow us also in our Twitter account via BlackPearl_INC. We'd also like to give special thanks to our production team,
Thank
Gaya,
you.
Nina, and Alan. And of course, our managing director, Mr. Joseph Guerra, for making this program possible.
Again, this is Miles.
And this is Eric,
This has been Simply Security.
streamlining security easily. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Harris.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Eric. Thank you, Miles.
Bye-bye.
Identify, discuss, understand. Casting live from Manila, Philippines, we are Simply Security, helping you streamline security easily.